This week on the Three Rings podcast.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm in a flipping Queen Vic here, speaking to .com. Suddenly I've got an opportunity to do something I've been dreaming about for years. Arlene Phillip was arguing with me to do the lead or to play this Alsatian couple. I said, when I leave here, I'll be going straight to the West End stage and I'll prove it to you. A lot of the iconic actors who were in there, they were bitter as hell.
Welcome to the 21st episode of the Three Rings podcast. My name's Stuart Bishop and I'm here with my fellow director, Bailey J. Muir.
Before we get into today's video, hit subscribe on the channel, give us a like on the video and turn on your notification bell so you know all about the next episode.
This week's guest is Aykut Hilmi. Aykut is a multi-skilled performer and entrepreneur who has achieved major success across dance, acting and musical theatre throughout his storied career. From playing the lead in Saturday Night Fever to dancing with Madonna and appearing as a series regular in EastEnders, Aykut has truly experienced all facets of the entertainment industry at the highest level. As well as finding success as a performer, Aykut also excels in the business world, where he has taken his brand Starfish Coffee from strength to strength, serving happy customers daily and playing host to Monologue slams and live mic nights, which have helped artists such as Freya Ridings gain management. Aykut, what's up, dude?
Yes, brother. How you doing?
Oh, mate, listen, we only want the best on this podcast, and we reached out, and
mate.
You're here. Let me introduce you to Bailey. Bailey, Aykut, Bailey.
Now then, mate, how you doing? Good to meet you.
Yes, Bailey. Nice to meet you, mate.
I know, good to see you. I've heard and seen so much about you, but we've obviously never actually spoken, so looking forward to this conversation. Sure, it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I mean, when someone messages me and said we'd like to do a podcast based on your career, I'm like, bloody hell, really? I can't even remember half of it. But, you know, for me, it's been a complete whirlwind. So it's been amazing. So for me, you're going to probably take me down memory lane today, and it'll be a bit of nostalgia in there. So I'm really looking forward to it as well.
We're going to take you everywhere, basically, all the way right to present day. But what we want to do is, I mean, it was crazy to go through your when I asked you for you were like bio, a CV, like when you sent over your bio, it was just brilliant to see the absolute variety of stuff that you've done. And I've known you for a long time, and in fact maybe we should just before we came on, I said I can't remember where we met, and you reckon you can. So why don't we start there, and then we'll go back to the start of your life.
Oh my God, mate. Well, back in the day, I was a popper locker. That was my thing. So when I got into training in the performing world, I remember it exactly, because at the time when I was in college studying, we were doing a performance show, and I can't remember the name of the show, and it was an opportunity for colleges to get together, perform, and you were in a dress circle with me around the stalls, and I was popping and locking, and you started talking to me, and before you know it, you started popping and locking, in fact popping, and all of a sudden we had this banter going on, and I remember overlooking the stage, and there was Bill Drysdale on the stage doing a routine, my old tap teacher, my jazz teacher. And that's the day I remember meeting you. And that was before I started doing music videos and everything. It was right at the beginning of my studying.
Wow. Do you know what? Yeah. I thought perhaps it was a Lionel Richie video. I was a DJ in a Lionel Richie video.
Really?
And I was thinking, maybe that's there, because I knew there was
could have been.
I knew there was a popping locking, popping locking, something relationship there. But my God, right? Let's
that goes further back.
Yeah, that does go further back. Let's go right to the beginning, because people can see you are obviously not a white English man. Where are you from?
Mate? I'm half Turkish and half Italian. My mum's from Rome. My dad's from Cyprus. You can say I was born Mediterranean love, eating Turkish kebabs and spaghetti. I ate well, mate. Born and bred in North London.
Right.
Both parents came over during the war. My dad couldn't speak English. My mum couldn't speak English. They met each other ballroom dancing, believe it or not, at a hippodrome. When back then you used to court a woman, actually go on a dance and asking to dance with her. So it goes all the way back then. So maybe some of my dance skills actually come from that. Because my uncle back then was a professional ballroom dancer, which I found out at a later date. But that's my background, yeah.
Wow.
So then I'd love to dive into then how you came to find your way into art. Was that influenced by your family? Because obviously you were an art director before you became a dancer as well. How did that happen for you?
You see, I've always been creative. I've always been heavily involved in the arts. My skill set from, shall I say, from day one has always been art. So I went into studying art at Central in my degree and everything. I went that route. So when I came out, I was always overlooking my brother, who was an actor, and he did musicals and theatre and movies. He was in EastEnders as well, believe it or not, back in the day. And I was overlooking that, and what was happening while I was doing this industry, I always had this feeling that I wanted to be on stage, and I'd never been given the opportunity to do it. So as I was doing that and earning loads of dollars of money, had a Ferrari, everything, I was still at home.
Hold on, time out. So you're earning. So this is as an art director. This is as an art director.
There we are. Stuart changing careers now.
Right.
I'm an art director. Work for the biggest marketing company in London for Coca-Cola, all of them.
Explain to the audience exactly what an art director does.
When you get to the position of an art director, what that means is you've got a copywriter next to you, and someone from Coca-Cola comes up to you and says, right, we're doing a new Christmas campaign. How do we approach this? What's going to sell this product like it's never before? If not, you're fired. Simple as that. So that's the position I was in. So we're coming up with ideas, we're drawing, we're writing, my copywriter's doing the slogan. And then we come up with a new advert or a new advertising campaign for a massive brand like Nike, for instance. That's where I got to. And I remember feeling bored with this because it got to the point where I wasn't doing all the creative stuff. It was getting black and white. You're working with high rollers who are talking a different way. Suddenly my creativity wasn't involved in the same way. And I remember sitting at a desk and going, I really want to do this. How do I go about doing this? And I remember at the time leaving at my dad's going, if I do this now, it won't kill me as much because I haven't got a house, I haven't got all these responsibilities. And I remember I was on the computer doing stuff and I was going, I need to apply for some colleges. And it was then when I started applying for some colleges, my brother was laughing at me at that time, going, you're giving all this up to go and dance in an ensemble, perform on stage because you don't get no money. And at the time, I remember thinking, I don't really give a shit about the money. All I give a shit about is
how old were you? How old were you at this point?
23. So young and keen. But because I think my passion had died in the art scene, and I was extremely keen about this, that I went in probably 200%. So I applied for about 4 colleges. And at the time, there's only a few guys in dance schools. There weren't loads. There was a few. And I remember going in. I remember going into the London Studio Centre and they were wearing ballet gear and everything. I didn't have a clue. All I knew is that I could pop, lock, and I knew how to move.
Yes.
And I remember getting told to go across the floor, with a promenade or something. And I was watching these people go, what the fuck am I doing here? And I copied them. Slightly embarrassing, out the skew. Did my singing audition, which I smashed a cappella at the time. I didn't know how to tap. I did a monologue, which I memorized and did all by myself. And I remember the art director came up to me and said, right, you've got no flexibility. You haven't got no clue about technique. Why should we bring you into this college? And I said to him at the time, I get goosebumps thinking about it, because it'll start my career when I think about it. I said, if you get me in here, I would give you 110% every day, whether it's 6 in the morning, 12 o'clock at night. I said, when I leave here, I'll be going straight to the West End stage and I'll prove it to you. And he goes, okay. And I said, while I'm here, I will do the graphic design work, anything you want for your advertising, all for free. just so I can get the opportunity to study.
Now that is what I call having some leverage in negotiations. Do you know what I mean?
Mate,
sure.
I just said, I'll do whatever it takes. And that was it. And I remember going, well, I did the interview. I said what I needed to say. And I left, and I thought that would be the end of it, really. If they didn't take me, they wouldn't take me. I didn't know what my future was. And I remember I got a letter probably a month before the course started. And it said, I won't remember exactly, but it said, thank you very much for your audition. We have accepted you, and we are welcoming you to the degree at the London Studio Centre with a full scholarship. And
wait, I remember the same letter. For
my heart sank.
Yeah, I can
Suddenly,
imagine.
I remember thinking, "Oh my God, this is it!" Suddenly, I've got an opportunity to do something I've been dreaming about for years. And I just remember I felt so nervous. I felt emotional. I was by myself. And I just thought, this is it. I'm going to do something in my life. And it was that moment that suddenly everything changed. I get emotional thinking about it. So I just remember feeling lonely and by myself and thinking, this is it. I can finally do something I've dreamt about.
Do you know what? That emotion is obviously that's coming from
Can't explain it.
It's coming from you now. However, there are many, many people who never ever take that leap of faith, and I think that's an even sadder thing. There's so many people who want to sing, dance, act, be creative, and they just society, family, things get in the way, and here we are, three men who all did that decision and somehow made that effort and made that have that courage to go ahead with it. Especially, I suppose, babe, it's a little bit easier for you when you came in, but back then for guys it was just there was no if you were gay basically, and there's obviously nothing wrong with being gay, but it was
and it wasn't a job. It was considered as a hobby. It was one of them. So doing this, I remember my dad saying to me, because he'd been through it with my brother. I remember my dad saying to me, I told him at the time, and he was shocked. He didn't even know I was doing this. And he goes, is this something you really want to do? And I went, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'll support you. So for him to say that, coming from the old traditional Turkish background, we yet to get a job in that was probably revolutionary for him to be so confident, because I think he always said, whatever you do, you're going to do really well. And I was, at the time, I just remember thinking, I haven't got a flipping clue what I'm doing, but I just remember saying to myself, whatever it is I'm going to do, I'm going to give 110%, and I'm going to work. That was my goal, was to succeed, not to study, but to come out of this and do what I've always wanted to do and love what I wanted to do. And that's what I did by the third year. By my third year, and I should say my second year, second and a half year, I was already doing all the music videos. Because during my second and a half year, when everybody's studying and they're all saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, I have already found my agent, my acting agent. I already got into 4 commercial agencies. Because while this was happening, I was a goer. So I'd go out and say, right, I'm going to do all the big auditions, even if I'm flipping nervous, get into these agencies, do the auditions. So there'll be some days that I'd be missing a class to do a Kylie video audition, and then come back and go straight into it was a Fame audition at school. And I'd be coming and go, fuck, I haven't even learned this choreography, and go straight into it and get an A or a B in class. I was really committed to do what I was doing. I literally slept on it.
Interesting.
I literally slept doing this.
So can I ask you, with the art director position you were in before,
how
transferable was that for you into dance? Do you feel that helped you? And even just from the point of, I guess, having other professional experience, do you feel that gave you that extra drive that some other dancers may have lacked? How transferable was it?
Yeah, because I guess when I went in, I really came from a degree background. I really knew how to construct things. I really knew what it takes I already knew when you leave what you need to get into something, how much dedication you have to work for free. There's a lot of work involved after college that people aren't committed to do. And in college, I think everybody was young. And I think that was part of the procedure, but that doesn't give them enough experience in order, when they leave college, to be on a process that when they actually leave, it's not the qualification they get, it's the context they've got, how many auditions they've done, how many times they've fallen over, how many times they've got into recalls, how many contacts they've made, if they've got an agent. All that, because I was doing it in college, regardless if I was 18, 23, whatever, the point was I knew that when I'd leave, I was set up in order to work, or I had enough contacts, or I was really involved. Because I knew from this business, and I knew from my first auditions, that it didn't matter how good you were, unless you were always there, always making contacts, always giving it 100% and getting to recalls to get to know the casting directors to bring you in, because your agent doesn't get you to work. It's all the contacts you made. I knew that by the time I've left, if I hadn't got that set, I weren't going to work. And I weren't about having a dream. I was about working, always working. So whether it be a show or commercial, I go from one trade show for London Fashion Week, straight to a music video, straight into a West End show for 6 months. I was always preparing for the next job, not waiting for it to come to me, not waiting for my agent to say, let's get you this audition. I already got the audition for my agent, got it. So
he was fucking on it. He was fucking on it.
Fucking on it, mate. Come on, my son. I was a doer, mate.
Do you know what? From that time, I just always remember thinking, like, you were just such a charismatic, confident, you had rugged good look, like, and when I say you had, you still have. You still have. But it was, you know, and you were just like a man about town. That's what it seems. You know, you had your finger in many pies, and it was an interesting thing for me to see, because you weren't a traditional just going to the dance auditions. You know, it used to be sort of dancers, you know, were commercial, and then you had the musical theatre and you had the actors. But you seemed to float about all these different things and had multi skills. Tell us about. So you finished college, and you started to do commercial work. What about then when, you know, commercial work is obviously contract to contract, they're smaller, obviously more lucrative, but you then started to go into musicals. Was Saturday Night Fever your first one?
Yeah, so I'd really done all the music videos before I finished my third year. And as I was coming out, I got into Pet Shop Boys musical in the West End. I think it was 2 months prior before our big showcase that you do at the end of your third year. And at that time, Saturday Night Fever came in for Germany. And I remember going for it. I remember seeing the show and really loving it. So I went to this audition. I went down to the 4/5 recall, and they wanted me to replace somebody else. But Arlene Phillip was arguing with me to do the lead or to play the South Station couple. South Station couple was a big dance-off number. And even though I loved that, I said it wasn't enough for me. For me, I wanted to go straight into a part that I could enjoy and do so much more. So she was arguing with the directors in Germany and the producers. The producers sent over Michael, who was the MD, and I sang a snippet of the song. And I remember he came over, I did 5-10 minutes of the song, and then he gave a phone call, and he said, he's perfect. And that was it. They gave me the job to go to Germany and learn the lead. At that point, I gave up Pet Shop Boys, and then I went to my teachers and I said, I'm not doing the end of the year show. And they said, why? And I told them. And instead of them being proactive and say, this is brilliant, this is what you should be doing, they said, no, you've got to finish the course. We need you to finish the show. And I said, well, do I have a lead in the show? They went, no. So what am I? I'm ensemble. I said, what more skill set am I going to get from doing a proper show with a big, massive technical team? I'm going to learn more there, make more mistakes, and grow than I am in the next few months with you guys. They didn't like that. But that was me basically saying to them, you've got no decision on this. They're supposed to say, this is what's happening. Had a very, not the best of leaving because of it. But I remember Sebastian Talkie was in the show at the time, and he was choreographing it. And he said, you're very, very lucky to get that part. I said, exactly. Why do you think I'm going? So when I went, I'd spent 3 months in a hotel by myself learning the whole script in German. And all I did every day was learn phonetically ins and out of the script, which was really bloody hard. And on my toilet door to my bed, I couldn't go to the toilet to do a number 2 unless I said the whole paragraph in German off the notepad. So that's the only way I would learn the script. So by the end of 3 months, I really had the score down, I had the script down and the choreography down. And then I went straight into the lead.
Wow.
It's so interesting hearing. I can see
crazy.
Particularly from this sort of tangent with learning that German, you've got this real drive that goes underneath you in everything you do. It's like everything's 200%. Do you know what it is that gives you that drive? Can you identify where that came from?
I guess I grew up always trying to prove myself when it comes to art or anything. I guess having that acknowledgement that you can be the best you can be. I really don't know. I guess I was a big dreamer. And being a big dreamer for me weren't necessarily about having money. Dreaming for me was about doing something that I was going to be proud of and get a buzz from, and that I could show what I can achieve. And that could have been art, drama, anything. It's like you don't know this, but I played basketball for London when I was a kid, and there was no basketball around. I was point guard from North London Towers. You know, I was the only one playing basketball around here.
We do know that, actually.
Do you know that?
Yeah, we've actually got your coach here.
Oh, come on! So whatever I did, I just went in 100%. I think when this happened, I was ready for it. I think if I went into this when I was 11 or 12, like a lot of people do, they start really young. I don't think I would have given it the same commitment because it would have been more about fun. I think by this point, in my mind, I was committed to doing this, and because of that, and I think that's what it is about. It's about knowing when you're committed, when you're ready to commit to something that's right for you at the right time in your life. You could be 40, you could be 20, it makes no difference. But whenever you're ready for something, you'll give it 110% because you really want to do it. And I think that is probably the problem about kids today. They don't know what they want to do until they're older. And I think I took advantage of the time of something that I knew I really wanted to do. That's probably why I had that drive. By the time I got to Germany, I already had that drive from year 2. So I was ready to work. Even though I went right to work in Germany at year 2, in my mind, my goal set was I'm ready to go on stage, even though I weren't ready and I still had to train. But saying that, the most experience I ever got was getting on that stage, hearing the sound cues, which I had a huge problem with. It didn't matter how much score you memorize on stage for your end of year show and everything. When you get on stage, you can't hear anything. You can't hear timing. You can't hear score cues. There's nothing to prepare you for being able to breathe doing a box splits and being able to sing a top note. There's nothing getting ready you for that. There's nothing getting ready for you mentally when your nerves are going 100 to 500 beats per second and you're doing the opening for the show. There's nothing to get you ready when your assistant roles do a big mess up on stage and you have to improvise. There's nothing for that. I remember going on stage and the guy who spoke German came on. He didn't come on. And I didn't know German fluently. Do you remember? I've learned a script. And for me, those 15 seconds felt like 2 minutes. And I had to improvise for 15 seconds with no one on stage. The only reason why I was ready to do that is because I've been doing it and I felt so confident I'm going to blag it. And I did, but nobody even knew. You can't learn that in college.
Wow.
That's what I mean. All that.
No, definitely. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not, you know.
It's crazy stuff you learn. Crazy stuff. Yeah.
It must have done a lot for your confidence to have that vote of confidence from someone like Arlene Phillips, because there was, it felt like in the industry at that point, to get that recognition from someone like her, you know, there weren't many people who were sort of in, you know, who were fortunate to dance for her or get that kind of sort of relationship. So, did that then make you think, right, well, you know, if I can do one musical, why can't I then go on to and do others? And then you did. You went and did Chicago, West Side Story. Tell us a little bit about that and why then did you sort of, was there a natural point of time where you were like, you know what, I've done musicals now, I want to now move on to other things?
Yeah, I think there was. What was happening is I was working in the West End. I was ticking the boxes. I was meeting the Americans. They were lovely. What was happening, I was beginning to feel a constraint of how to work in the West End as not as an actor, more so than an ensemble dancer who just does job after job. I found there was a constraint of that you had to repeat what someone did before. You had to fit the niche. I'm sure that doesn't happen with the big West End guys now. But me coming in, proving yourself, what was beginning to happen, I was feeling constrained. I mean, I'll never forget being at the National Theatre and working with people like Mark Addy from what movie is it now? It's
Full Monty.
Full Monty.
Yeah.
I was working with these big people at the National Theatre. It was my first opportunity. I've been waiting years for it. And I was working with these guys, and it was so free. I was doing verbatim, I was doing Shakespeare. It was free. Work these guys, just do it. And I was doing it, and I thought, I didn't have to step on that mark. I didn't have to repeat my sentence like the person who did it before. These are the constraints I felt in the West End Theatre, is that you couldn't do what they hired you to do. You had to be a robot. And I think bit by bit, this was beginning to show through my conversations, through my approach to bringing the piece alive. And you cannot, they say you can't keep a tiger in a cage. You can't stop a performer performing. It doesn't work like that. And I needed to grow. So as I started to do that, I started to find a passion for being able to do that even more. And with the music industry, doing trade shows, I had such an amazing time, met lovely people. I met amazing people. I had a great time. All the music videos, all the tours. But it got to a point where in the music industry, the choreography started changing. I started coming from a background, street locking, popping, masculine dance, hit the beat routine into, even though commercial was going on, into this fluidity. And I wouldn't say it's jazz. It was almost going back to the Madonna days of lyrical movements. And I remember going to these auditions, and I think by then I was content what I achieved. And I remember going in, getting a bit further and further. I mean, I got accepted for Kinky Boots and stuff like the movies. And I remember being with these group of people, and I'm going, I'm not getting a buzz from this. I feel like I'm not enjoying the new change. And I think if you're a dancer, you'll always dance, whatever style you do. But it's whether you want to do that dance. And I remember going, something's changed that I'm not really enjoying like I used to. Everything that I grew up watching and everything. And now all of a sudden, I think it's time for that group of new genre people to sort of do what they want to do. Let them take out. And I think that's correct. That's transition. That's how it should be. If I wanted to be a choreographer, however, I would have carried on doing what I wanted to do, choreographing for the passion and so forth. But I never wanted to be at the back. I never wanted to be a choreographer. I never wanted to, I mean, I want to be an art director. Don't get me wrong with TV and film, but I never wanted to be behind the camera. I always wanted to be in front, and I always wanted to bring something off the paper, which is what I love doing, and materializing it from nowhere. That is what I love doing. Improvising, method, all of that. You can call it whatever you want. But that's when I feel alive. When you go on stage, it's no different than screen. And you've got loads of people watching you. When you feel like everybody's listening to you that moment, and you're saying 4 lines and everyone's listening, there's a feeling that you get that makes you want to fly. And that feeling of, as I'm getting nervous now, I'm thinking of the butterflies, is a feeling you can't get anywhere else. And that 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, or 4 hours in front of the camera doing take after take, makes you feel more alive than when you go home and sit on your sofa. And that's the buzz I wanted to get every time I performed, which is why I think sometimes auditions are your best work. You feel more alive during an audition than you do actually doing a piece, because that is the moment where you actually get to do it for the first time and do something unique. That's my feeling, my take on it.
Wow. Before we, I feel like it's a great kind of almost ending to dance, and we're going to then go on to your acting. Before we go, I just want to pick up on something you said there. The change of dance. For someone like yourself and for me as a popper locker, and it felt like dance went from being on the beat to being off it.
Yeah.
and that was sort of introduction of choreographers, stars like Marty Kadolka, which was the inspiration for Bailey's generation, which was very Justin Timberlake, this kind of offbeat to the sometimes to the lyrics and stuff like that. That's so interesting you say that, because
I remember the audition. I remember we had all the old school people like Patrick Agile. I remember they were all there, and even Patrick Young. I remember they all looked out of place, and I just remember standing there, and I remember thinking to myself, I know there's lots of new faces and everything, but it was a time where dance suddenly changed. If you weren't, the way the dance used to work, you used to build a network of people. You go in there, you go, right, I know if I see those 4 people into there, or that choreographer, I know what to expect today. I'm going to smash it, I'm going to love it, I'm going to enjoy it. You start going to a room, and you had this conformity of new dancers that had just gone to Pineapple, no training. Good luck to them, of course, why not? And all of a sudden, this dance routine was very camp, very free, very hit the beat with the arms and the legs. And I remember, it's not that I didn't like it. I just remember going to myself, it's no different from me going back and doing jazz at college.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, that's not what I came in here to do. And I remember they were getting picked because they had this niche with the choreographer. It was Ashley Wallen at the time and stuff like this. And they were getting put to the side. And all the people that I'd worked to get there were excluded. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a new era. We haven't been a part of this new era. Do we want to be a part of it? I don't think so, because the music was different, the choreography was different, and you couldn't connect with the choreographers. There was something very different about it. And I remember thinking to myself, it reminds me of starting all over again, leaving college. You have to network and you have to start again and suck up to the choreographers, the casting directors, and all. And I go, oh man, I can't invest another 10 years in this. So I thought to myself, if I'm not going to enjoy doing what I'm doing, I might as well do it like I normally do when I go out or dance or all that lot. Enjoy the music, enjoy all that. And that was at the time when I was doing the transition into acting. And I remember saying to myself, it was that day, I said, I'm not doing this no more. It was that easy. I walked out, went, I don't want to do this no more. I'm not enjoying it. And it was that easy. It took me that long to get there. But I think I had done enough to say to myself, right, I've achieved all that. I'm really content. I'm ready to move on to the next stage of being a performer or being creative in some way. And I never wanted to be a choreographer, I know that. So I said, I knew where I was going. I was making this transition into fringe, doing hundreds of shows for free. Man, I got monologue books up there that I haven't seen in ages. I used to learn 5 monologues for one audition. I'd go in, I'd do one monologue, and they went, great, whatever. And I said, no, hold on a second, can I do another one for you? They went, what? I went, yeah, can I do another one? I really want to do this one for you. And I started doing these because I really wanted to do it. Before you know it, I had like so many monologues under my belt. It was ridiculous. Shakespeare monologues, contemporary monologues, anything. I lived and breathed it at home. I was looking at scripts from classic movies I'd memorized, go through, record. And I was going, I can't wait to put this on screen. You know, suddenly I found this new passion that I wanted to drive towards.
I'd love to.
I can't. Go on. I was just going to say, babe, before we go, I just can't see how you've made it. I can't see, you know.
I'm still trying, mate. You know? I'm still trying.
This is what it takes. This is what it takes, you know.
Mate, I wake up some days and I go, I can't be bothered to do that. There'll be a meeting come in and it's the truth. You can't be bothered to do it. Sometimes it's really shit. But then I turn around the next day and go, I really want to fucking do this. And then I go, how many auditions did it take me to get to that audition that I didn't want to do? You know, how badly do I want to do this? You know what? Since self-recording has come out, self-tapes, everyone's a bloody genius at self-taping now. It's not like the old days. You go into a room, you do a shit 1 or 2 takes. Oh, the casting director didn't read to me. oh, it was a bad day. When you do self-tape, you've got 20 takes and you choose one, it's brilliant. Can you imagine before you'd have like 10 people be able to do it in the audition room? Now you've got like 2,000 actors or wannabe actors who can nail a self-tape, who, because they can practice it, then send the best one eventually after lockdown or doing 2 years of self-tapes. You know, you can't stop your game, mate. It's getting harder and harder and harder. I speak to my agent, she goes, everyone's a fucking genius at self-taping now. I'm like, bloody hell, before we had a chance, what the fuck are we going to do now? Now you need that luck. So you can't complain. Every moment is that luck.
What is it about that like audition process, casting process that you love? Can you identify the factor? Like for myself, go on. Go for it.
Right. For me, I remember going to the Hubbards, and they did Game of Thrones and everything, the Irish cast directors. And it took me forever to get in that room. And eventually they started calling me in for the big stuff, movies and that. And I'll never forget, eventually I got a meeting with the director and the producer. And it was the worst audition I ever did. And I'll tell you why. Because I got to that room and the director was great, but the producer was a freaking nightmare. All they kept on doing on the corner was going, they need to do this, they need to do that. They had an agenda that their executive producer had set. If you hadn't matched their marketing strategy, that wasn't correct. So that took away all the magic and what the director was doing. And I remember going to myself, right, this is what it feels like to be up there. I didn't complain. I just said, shit, this is reality. This is how serious it can get. And I'll never forget, getting that far was amazing. But what turned it around for me was I remember thinking to myself, and this is what changed it all. I remember being very nervous for all my major castings, major auditions. I was like going, you know what? If I fuck this up, it's not me who gets into trouble, it's the casting director. Am I right? Mm-hmm. If you've got a big multi-producer coming in with a director, and you've done 100 auditions and you've brought in 2 people, and those 2 people fuck up their audition, who do you think the producer and director is going to have a go at? Me or the casting director afterwards? And go, why did you bring them in? We spent a fortune, right? It took me that long to work out that the casting director is not against me, is actually with me. The minute they start calling you in, that is them saying, save me, and I really want you to get that role because you're going to make me look good and I'm going to get my next job. And the minute that started happening, I started going, why am I stressing out about this? I'm doing everything right. Let me just go in and do it because the casting director needs me to get that right. And that's when it all changed completely. It was that sudden. That's when it all changed. When I stopped giving a shit, that's when my work started to show.
Interesting. I
not in a bad way. Taking away all the insecurities, all that shit you take into an audition room is horrible. When they say one comment and you get it all wrong, that's not your fault. That's just a process. But when that happens, you can give me 5 pages now, I'll learn it to you in half an hour, and I'll do 4 takes, and it'll be as good as I can get. And that's what they want. They're hoping that you'll get that done. And you will, because they've called you in to do it. It's worth a lot of money to them.
Well, that's it. It's like you found the understanding that actually, as an actor, you're on the same level. To give an analogy of this, it's like there's a girl in the corner of the club and you've turned to your mate and be like, right, wingman me. You've worked out you're actually the casting director's wingman there. They're not there to judge.
They need you. They want you. They need you. Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. That you make them look good. And that's the whole process. That director who was in that there was shitting himself because the producer was there. I'm more nervous with the director. The director's nervous because the producer. Producer is the last person. Casting director's shitting there going, if he fucks up his lines, I'm fucking murdered here. And then when you get rid of all that and you start looking at them, you start thinking, I might as well just do what I did in last week or do the same way, do the best I can. And that's it. If I don't get it, it's not my fault.
For sure. So interesting. So let's jump then to EastEnders. Obviously, here you're starting to transfer that acting that you've done on stage to then screen acting. How did that change happen for you? How did you find screen acting? How did EastEnders happen?
Right, I did loads of workshops. I'm a type of person who doesn't sit around. I did loads and loads of workshops. Everyone thought they knew what was right, what was wrong. The best screen for me was self-taping. During 2 years of lockdown, I think I produced my best work because it was at that moment I could start seeing what I was doing and relay it and started to understand how to mechanically bring the script across. So who's not, I know if somebody's in the room, they see you one way, but what you don't realize is if that director's not in the room and hears you and sees you and likes you, he's the only one who's going to hire you. What happens is they only see what they see on the tape. And that in an audition is normally crap, believe it or not, because the casting director hasn't set it up to the best way possible. If a casting director's like 5-10 meters over there and I'm speaking, I can't hear them, how do you respond correctly? You don't. So your best work is never going to be in that room. When you start doing self-tapes, your voice comes down, the movements change, everything changes, and suddenly the intensity changes, your laughter, everything. And that's your best work. That is when my best work started to happen. So in hindsight, even though something bad happened and we didn't work for a few years, at the same time I did my best research and my best learning capabilities. So EastEnders, I've been writing to Julia Cramsey for years to get in EastEnders. I thought I was always right for it, but, it's one of those things. You may be right for it, but it's whether you get seen or not. I wasn't getting seen. I was getting seen for doctors, all that part of rubbish programs, that are rubbish scripts and all that lot.
When you're saying writing to, so first of all, who is...
Okay.
Right, go on.
Julia Cramsey's head of casting for the BBC and EastEnders at the moment. Now, I remember the old school ways. I used to write, I used to get breakdowns, write letters. I used to stamp the bloody letter and tell them why I was right for this part.
You used to stand outside a window at night.
Mate, beg, borrow, steal. I'd do whatever it took while I was sitting around to get seen. And I'd never get a letter back. Well, I know they probably got them. But then I stopped doing it because I thought, if I'm going to get seen, it's going to be because of something. It's going to bounce off something, and then you've got your moment to talk to them. And it did, because I did this TV series called One Night with a good friend of mine, Kosh, an actor. And I met Julia Cramsey after it got aired for the rap party. And Julia first time spoke to me, and as she was speaking to me, we were having a really good conversation. It's because you're Turkish, Ike. And I went, yeah. And as we were talking, it must have been 2 minutes. I think it was 2 days later, she called me in for EastEnders. And I came in, and I was fucking nervous because you can imagine, I've been waiting years. I've been watching these as a kid. I've been waiting years to tick this off my bucket list. I went, fuck. Now, this is a big deal. And I went in and I met the producer. And she was next to the producer, and he was lovely. He's now producer of Hollyoaks. And he said, right, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I met him one night. She was very, very relaxed about it. And I realized how the process was different. All of a sudden, they had accepted me, as opposed to going in blindfolded. And I thought, I could sit back on this. It was brilliant. So I read the script. It was great. The fact that I was Turkish, the fact that I was his part, what they had done, they had literally, I kid you not, in those 2 days, they've written this part for me. In those 2 days. So when I went in, that part was written for me without them saying. And I read this, and I got the part the next day. And the producer, I remember going to set, and the producer said to me, Aykut, the reason why we've written you in is because the Tottenham Hotspur riots. Do you remember the Tottenham Hotspur riots at the stadium?
Yes.
There was riots at the Tottenham stand before they moved. There was massive riots in the whole Tottenham area. And I was there that day. He said to me, one of our writers have written about a moment in time, and we've got no Greeks, no Turks, everyone's black, white, Indian. And we want to bring this history into the program. So he goes, so that's why we called you in, and it's written for you. But you're playing a Greek. I went, great, I don't give a fuck, I'm Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And he goes, Aykut, this is going to be the first day of the rest of your life. He goes, you're going to change this program. And he goes, I've written you in specifically for this role. And that was it. So I learned from that moment on, there's another learning curve. It doesn't matter how much you do, you're only suitable for a role when someone says you're suitable for a role. And that is when you meet people and they say, I'm going to write you in because I like you, I like your character. People don't get those roles like that. A lot of the people in EastEnders, you probably don't realize this, but they're playing themselves. A lot of them already have that character. Those guys or girls have been brought in because they've met them. They go, right, let's bring them in for this new storyline. That's how those programs work. And that was my luck at the time, that I'd done that job and they gave me the opportunity to meet the right person. Otherwise, I could probably never be on.
How did you handle the fame part of it? Because it must have gone from, I remember when I was doing, I had a little stint, you might remember or not, internationally as a judge. And,
no, you're amazing, mate. You're smashing it.
And what I remember is while I was filming rehearsals and doing, the first few weeks of the show airing, nothing kind of changed. And then suddenly people start to recognize you and people start to come up to you. Tell us about that, because EastEnders is not like, especially back then, it's probably less now because of the diversification of sort of programming and where it is now and what people are watching. But to go on EastEnders straight away at a point where people were still watching it, in the millions, how was that? Your life must have changed dramatically, or not?
Well, I've been filming it, I think, 2 or 3 months prior. So for me, I had this anticipation waiting for it to be released because I couldn't talk about it. I was doing my freaking head in. And obviously I was really excited. And I went in, my first scene was with Dot Cotton. So you can remember, there's 8 million viewers.
Wow.
And Dot Cotton is a prolific character, an icon to a lot of people. And my first scene was Dot Cotton. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm in the flipping Queen Vic here, speaking to Dot Cotton. So surreal is an understatement, you can imagine. And I remember doing this, and I remember I wanted acknowledgement. I wanted the fame at the time. I wanted it because I fucking worked towards this. I really want this. I want to start making. I want to go somewhere now. I want to progress. And I think it was probably 2 weeks when all the magazines started taking all my old photographs and started interviewing me. Then suddenly, that was it. All those trashy gossip magazines and those big gossip magazines, all of a sudden, that changed everything. Like, I'd be walking around the area and people would be shouting my name out of the bus. Oi, Nico! What are you saying? And then my Nico popped up as a character. That's what started to happen. I went, oh, flipping hell. And then the real transformation is when I go to my local pub and then everyone started saying it. I go, fucking hell, I can't even go to a pub. Everyone started saying it. And some people would be really nice. Some people would be a little bit bitter, which doesn't bother me. I can handle myself. But then all the girls started changing. All the girls were after me. And I remember I had a pair of knickers thrown at me once. It's that stupid with EastEnders, how people recognize you more of EastEnders than they do if you did a movie. Imagine that. Because on everyday life, when they get home, you're on their box. You're more real to them than a multi-million-pound movie that they've seen once. So all of a sudden, they feel they know you. So you cannot escape. And it all changed for me completely. Yeah.
I wonder if there's something in that as well that links to what you were saying, where like a lot of those characters are wrote for the person. So actually, those fans, they're feeling an aura of that character in the room.
Oh, mate, you had fans waiting outside the L3 studios. You have people writing to you. You have people turn up at nightclubs if you were there. They would get arsey if you didn't talk to them all of a sudden because they felt that they had a history with you because they've been watching you every day. It changed from being... Because for me, that wasn't a big deal, TV. For me, I always thought movies would be like that. But it changed for me from just being yourself, all of a sudden that you had to take care of yourself. That was a different thing completely.
Tell us about your sort of your personal development. Are you on any kind of spiritual path? Because at this point, I know for myself, there was a point where I just lost it. I lost it. I've got. I think
we all have.
I was turning up at shops and people, the shop people coming out with bags of free gifts and nightclubs sending limousines. Like it was ridiculous. And how do you not lose yourself there? And how, did you lose yourself at all? Was there, did your wife, for example, did she have to say, look, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself here? Or how did you keep yourself from going insane when you've got all these people blowing smoke up your ass, and sometimes not, was there some kind of, do you have a religious background? Do you have any type of meditation? How did you deal with that? Because it would have been a major thing. Because I know for a fact that when you're getting a lot of people bigging you up and liking you and your photos here and your photos there, oh man, it's it's a bit.
I'll tell you.
Go on.
Yeah, look, I reckon you went through more of that than I did, because I remember at the time with EastEnders, I think it's I would call it like a religion. And I'm really good friends with Mark, who used to be Marco and Beppe in EastEnders. I'm really good friends with them. So I know a lot of them, and we've spoken about this. And at that time, they were bigger than I was. They earned millions. There's a stigmata thing about EastEnders, and I'm pretty sure that goes all the way through to Coronation Street, those big uns. When you're on EastEnders, all you want to do, especially me, is do the job, watch yourself on TV so your family can see you, and get paid for it and have some of the fame. There's this thing that I didn't like about EastEnders, and it became an anticlimax for me. Like now, I probably handle it so much better, because you got to remember, when I went into EastEnders, I really achieved so much in theatre and some other programs. So when I went in, I treated it as an acting job. A lot of the iconic actors who were in there, they were bitter as hell. They were always talking about who had the biggest script. Why has that person got more coverage than I have? Keep the camera on me. When you get these conversations on set in front of a director, for me, it's really uncomfortable, because I've been on film sets. You can't say fuck all. You got to do your take and do that. And these people going, why am I in here? Why am I talking to him? No, I'm the star of the show. So when you start hearing that, you go, oh my God, what is going on here? You come into a family that is completely different. It's a real cutthroat cast. They're all trying to get seen. They're in the magazines for 3 months, off 3 months. Then this new person comes in, there's a new big highlight, and they all get jealous. There's a real definite uncomfortable uneasiness about working on those programs. So when I was experiencing all that, I remember going to Ingrid, going, now, I don't believe what just happened today. On my scene, I'm not going to say who, came in and he was pissed off that he was in my scene and I had more lines than him, and he said it to the director in front of my face, like I wasn't there. And I said, I don't know about you, Ingrid, but I've come from an acting background. We respect each other and we speak with a decorum. And I said, no one ever speaks that way to another actor or a director. You keep to yourself, or you go away to your agent and you moan about it. I said, it's the first time I've ever heard this kind of language. And I said, I don't like it. I really don't like it. And for me, I was in the magazine so much. I had people like Phil Mitchell coming up to me and going, how the fuck do you get on the magazines more than me? This is in my face. Now, I didn't like it. Towards the end, I didn't like it. It was a real horrible anesthesia. Saying that, I got on really well with everyone. I had a really good blast with the right people. But it wasn't a good team to work with.
What do you think triggers that mentality amongst the cast?
I don't think it's their fault. What I'd noticed is, and you got to remember, I came into the magazines and suddenly I was blasted everywhere. The way they control them, they give them a storyline, they put them in all these trashy mags, and I call them trashy mags because they are the gossip mags, and they make them have the limelight. But what it is, they drop them as well. Next month, they don't give them anything for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. One line here, one line there. Now, if you've been here for quite some time and you're a big name, and someone's going, yeah, you're in EastEnders, you're amazing, isn't it? But you're coming home and you're feeling low self-esteem that you're not actually doing your work like you want to. What happens is they start making them go up and down like a roller coaster. They really control how they operate them, and they don't let them work outside of the program. They're not allowed to have their own PA. They're not allowed to have other photographs. They really manipulate them. So you'll find a lot of the actors who work there, who I've been speaking to, they eventually leave because they feel encaged like a prison in that program. It's not a nice position to be in as an actor, especially when they've made you famous and then they've dropped you and then picked you up again. It's a horrible feeling for them. I think that's what they bring to the set every day.
It's interesting as well because of the longevity of the contracts. Obviously, we'd often think
5 years, boom.
Yeah, obviously, we'd often think it's a very stable contract. Whereas on West End, you'd be like, I know I'm here for 9 months and I need something else. Was that a good thing for you that it felt more stable, or was it more worrying that you didn't know what the end date was?
No, I for me, as an actor, I love the stability. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, I could work 3 months here, 1 year, 2 years. All of a sudden, I was like, I'm going to get a regular income. I'm going to have exposure. I'm going to be accepted as an actor. For me, I think this is a great feeling. You become a working actor. And there's a couple of things that goes with it, doesn't it? If you accept a 5-year contract, you've got stability. You've got a house. You've got marketing money that comes in all the time that pays for royalties. A lot of money. You've got all this going on. But at the same time, you're conformed to working under their rules. You're not allowed to do any other work. So what do you do as an actor who hasn't been working for years, or maybe it's done a commercial, this and that? You're more likely to bow your head down, go, I want to work for 5 years, than have the freedom to work in different jobs. And that's the problem with EastEnders. They grab you literally by the balls and say, you're not allowed to do anything. You're contracted for 5 years. We control you, whether you've got a script or you haven't got a script. And that is, I think, what really screws them over on the program.
So you were a regular for 2 years. What happened? What happened then? Talk us through what. Yeah, why did you had it? You know, because someone could look at that and go, "Well, why wouldn't you then stay for? Why wouldn't you become the next Ian?" and just, you know,
Ian was wicked. He was a great guy. He was a lovely guy. He's the one that made my Twitter account go mad. He goes, mate, he goes, does anyone know about you? I went, no. He goes, Twitter account? He goes, yeah. He goes, what's your Twitter account? And we were on set, and he goes, right. He sent something off on Twitter. He goes, watch your phone in the next half hour. You're about to be bombarded. And he goes, you won't be thanking me. After I had 50,000 followers within 30 minutes. Wow. It was that crazy. And I went, what the fuck? Is it that easy? Yeah, it was that easy. So with all that you've got all that, it comes with it. I mean, for me, I just loved working. I was always looking forward to the next script. But what happened was the producers changed. They cleared out probably 30-40% of the actors. They kicked them out. And they said, we don't want those families no more. They brought in a new producer. Her name was Lorraine. And she kicked out loads of actors. And she said, right, you've got 3 months to leave. And that was it. It was as simple as that, cutthroat. And they brought new actors in.
How did you feel about that at the time?
Well, there's 2 ways. You're not happy with the script. You're not happy because you're in that environment. But 2, you want to work. You really want to do it, don't you? You don't know when your next job is. And I was really enjoying driving to L3 Studios in a convertible, having a great time on set. I felt like I was a working actor. I was in that environment. So for me, I'm like, well, yeah, I want to do my next acting job, but I don't know what it is. For me, it felt great. Security for an actor doesn't come often. We all know that, even as a performer, whatever it is. But I didn't like the way it ended, but we can remember that's a business. I can go into other jobs where you've done a job and then you've been edited out and a director wants to personally call you before it premieres, a day before, and says, I'm just letting you know all your scenes have been taken out. And you're thinking the director's calling you because it's something good. It's a big movie. This is amazing. But it's not about that. And he goes, I want to be the first one to tell you before you get upset. This is the reasons why. While he's in his car in LA. Why the PA passed me. Because of this. And my heart sank. But at the same time, I thought to myself, at least one, the director gave me a personal call, which he didn't need to. Could have come from my agent. And 2, at least you had that respect of an actor to say, thank you so much for all your work, but this is what we had to do because it's a business. And it is a business. And the sooner you come to terms with it being a business, the healthier you will be when you work in your acting jobs or dance jobs.
That's a David Prowse moment, isn't it? You know, the Darth Vader who turns up to the cinema. I was like,
where am I? This was actually David Yates who called me from Fantastic Beasts, the sequel.
I choreographed you remember I think he's still about now, the artist Example, and I choreographed a video for him, which had Ria Fuji in, Elliot's wife. And we did this big scene, and she was painted for 12 hours in some scenes.
Oh my God. Out, amazing.
And it's not there. It's not there.
After all that.
All of it was cut. All of it, everything. My whole day's work. But obviously we got paid, so, you know.
I know. My friend Dobie, years ago, he was in Aliens, and he went in it. And this guy, he's huge, he's black, massive role. He looks apart. He goes, I turn up for the premiere in a limo, and I'm not even in the movie.
No
right?
Way.
Imagine this. And what you got to remember, and this is what I remember, is that this is your break.
Yeah.
After all these years, you've finally done something, you've experienced it, you've worked closely with the director, the lead actor, you got something for your showreel, you're going to be premiered, this is your break to suddenly go from here to go boom, 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 boom. And that's all it takes, whether you're 60 or 20, that's all it takes. And he's gone, it was the most depressing day of my life. I turn up at the movie, I'm watching the movie at the premiere, and I'm not there. So can you imagine what was going through his head? That no one even told him, he was edited out, and he probably told how many of his family members that this was it.
No.
Yeah.
Imagine. And that's why, I mean, I listened to it at the time, and I kind of understood it, but I didn't really fathom it until I did certain movies, and a lot of my screen time was taken out. And I was screaming. You see, my wife has gone through a lot with me. I've been cursing and going, what the fucking do this? You took all this out. This is my break. How dare they? But I don't know why they took it out. There's obviously a business reason why I took it out. Probably too long the movie, or they've changed the storyline. And you're waiting for that break. Now, the moment that David Yates from Fantastic Beasts called me up, and it was a big deal for me, working alongside Zoe Kravitz, big part. My heart was broken. It was broken. But at the same time, the fact that I spoke to him on the phone, it reassured me there was hope in the industry. Yeah, and also the fact they call me meant I might work with him one day again. And that was a thing that overrid me being upset by that point. And that's all you ask for in this business, is showing a little bit of respect for your work that you've done. I think the fame will come when it does come.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the reverse of that you said, where you've got to think about what the casting director is when you're at the audition.
Yeah.
It's a reverse of that the other way. It's so good you got that call. So to dive into that immediate moment coming out of EastEnders, did you feel there was anything in the industry that you got like kind of trapped in that character in a casting sense? Obviously, we're here with like Daniel Radcliffe. No matter what he's in, we still see Harry Potter. When I see Michelle Keegan in Netflix, for example, I struggle to remember she's another character. Do you feel that impacted you at all?
It's interesting you should say that, because I haven't thought about it until now you've said that. That's the only thing I think I'm grateful for. Because I wasn't in there too long, I didn't have a stereotype and a trait. I always thought when I left there, what would be my next job? And that's the scariest moment, because if you're typecast, and I know all the ones that have left, they don't work, which is why they go into reality TV or all the TV stuff. But they still get money. I mean, they're probably happy with that, but you don't work. And I remember in hindsight later on going, the only thing I can thank for this is that I'm still a working actor. I'm still getting seen for theatre, film, TV. I don't think I would have had that opportunity if I was typecasted because of a previous job being recognised in the same way. I probably have a much diverse CV than those actors who are typecasted. Because I've got friends like Mark and that lot who call me up sometimes and they're ripping hair out. They can't work. They can't work. They've earned all that money. They've got a house, but it's killing them that they can't work. So you can't, I mean, it's very hard to have it all in that sense. So you can either work in that type of program, earn all your money, then move on, or you can do bits and bits as a working actor and have, I don't know, be content that you're performing, I guess, that you're doing what you love doing. There's many little pockets, but I don't think we decide on that. I think we get given that opportunity. Yeah.
Wow. Let's just quickly go into some of these other things. So I remember I was watching, I did a Jack Reacher binge, and then suddenly you're there. Suddenly you're there driving a taxi.
Yes, mate. Yes, mate.
even with those kind of smaller roles, people, you know, that isn't. I mean, where did you fly out to? That was flown. You filmed that where?
We filmed that in Morocco.
Yeah,
we filmed that in Marrakesh and Santa Elara, which is the French beach district. And then
tell us about.
Go on. Who do you remember? I don't know if you remember. Do you remember The Wire? What's his go? The black character from The Wire, the cop.
I never watched it.
He was on the set with me in that one. Can you imagine that? I'm a big fan of The Wire, and then suddenly he's there going, shit. That was surreal. Working with people like that. But that guy that I did that scene with that you saw, this is weird. I filmed with Brad Pitt, I think it was 3 years prior, with the same actor. And here we are, casted, I think only 3 weeks prior, and we're both in the same movie series again. Wow. And that was kind of surreal, working with him again.
And this, what about FBI International?
What are you saying, mate, about FBI?
I'm not saying anything. I haven't seen it.
What are you saying?
I haven't seen it. I ain't saying shit. You're going to be telling me.
Shit. Well, FBI came at a time. I hadn't been working for a while. My last job was Wonder Woman, the sequel, and then lockdown happened and screwed us all over. And during that time, I grew my hair really long. And by then, I probably was a magician or a wizard at self-taping. I could learn scripts in minutes. And I did this script, and it was a really good script. And the director is Avi, who did Batwoman and Arrow, DC and Marvel movies. So you can see it was done really well. And I booked my holiday to Mallorca. You know, I said we don't book holidays well in advance. I booked my holidays. 3 days later, I landed. My agent said, right, you're going to Budapest to film this. And I went, what? I've just landed for holiday. So I had to leave my family next 10 days to go to Budapest.
Were you in the doghouse?
I was in the doghouse. No, what I did, I flew my mother-in-law over. So she took my space. She was over the moon. So that was good. And I filmed this, and this was brilliant. I worked with a great cast. Like I say, Avi, who's the massive director. And the main thing I learned from this, and this for me, was a brilliant job. And I'll tell you why, because I had about 8-10 different scenes all juggled around my hotel room. And, you know, you get your casting call and you know what scenes you're doing every day. I decided to get ahead and learn 4 scenes. So I went, right, I better learn these scenes. You never know what's going to happen. The way this guy works, he brings you into the scene, and obviously, I didn't know this, but, you know, you've got a few scenes that work in the same location or office or environment. He goes, right, great, we did this, and then you've got to remember I'm working with these guys who are used to doing this. So we did this take, great. And he goes, okay, let's go to scene 5, same spot. Didn't tell me I was working scene 5 that day, and I had script to learn. It was a good job that I learned to write script, because he used to work really fast, go from scene 5 to scene 6 to scene 2, to get all that location out of the way for future recording. And I learned how to work even faster on set with the Americans and learn scripts even faster. That's what was great about that job. I learned how they work.
So you didn't have so what you're saying is they didn't. Did you know? Like, did you know? Right, I need to be prepared here because they could be jumping. You didn't know at all.
No, when you're in that all I was thinking is I'm working with this team who's been doing this for a while now. They all got a community. They all know how to work. It's not like film. You've got a scene to do, and they take 4 hours to set up, and you do your take. They set up within 30 minutes, and you've got to do as much as possible in the time they've allocated. I knew that I had one scene to do that day, but I had prepared 4 scenes in my hotel room because I committed to myself with the time that I had to get ahead in case I need to look back. Not having the understanding that this would happen, but that's the way they worked. And these actors, they were so used to it, they just looked at the paper, and I kid you not, took 5 minutes and they had the scene down.
Wow.
That's how you, so when you're working, you're even better. That's the thing that's really hard as a non-working actor, is to give your best work, because working actors always give their best work because they're always practicing their work. So you have to be at that level. So that's why I said to myself, I better learn scenes. And we did it. I remember shitting myself doing it, but at the same time, thankful that I had a learning curve of how to prepare myself for some other job, even if it was in London, a different way of working. That for me was the biggest learning curve, and I think that was probably the biggest learning curve that I've experienced on set with a movie, with a series.
Mm. So just to round off your performing career before we move into your business life, obviously you've done theatre work and screen work at the highest level. Is there one of them that is more rewarding for you? For example, do you miss that immediate applause when you've done your performance? How do you feel about that?
I think if you come from a theatre background, you will never reproduce that same buzz on stage when everyone's listening to you while you are performing. That feeling is the best feeling in the world compared to TV or film. TV and film is brilliant because you get really good scripts. Oh my God, you get brilliant scripts. And like I say, they're like the auditions. They're really good. I love doing that. But it's a different feeling. Your reward is when you do it on screen, not when you see the outcome. When you do, and it's gone in 2 seconds. When you do theatre, it's a completely different feeling. It's live. You can't make mistakes. It's a completely different feeling. That's how it's always been for me. So no matter how much TV and film I do, I will always accept a theatre role because TV and film give you the dollars, but a theatre role gives you self-satisfaction of what you're doing. For me.
I love it. I love this where we see that actors like Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Holland just coming back now to do Shakespeare. You can see why they do it for sure. So to go into business life then, Starfish and Coffee. Tell us about it. What is it?
The money, that's why they do it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I started Starfish and Coffee at the time because my wife Ingrid was in Harry Potter and everything, and she wanted to come out of it. And at the time, I still wanted to be in the business.
Time out.
Whoa.
You can't just chuck that in. What do you mean your wife Ingrid was in Harry Potter? What does that mean?
Well, she did the Harry Potter movie. She was one of the French ladies. I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan. She was one of the French ladies when they did the competitions in school, when they came over from different schools. Do you remember? Are you a Harry Potter fan?
No, never watched it.
No,
so she was one of the French ladies. They were dressed in blue, and she had done that. And at the time, she said, "I don't want to do this no more." She didn't like the business. So I said, "What do we do then? Because I need bread and butter while I'm not working as an actor." And at the time, it was just an idea. And I remember being in Italy and seeing one of those coffee carts coming out of Piaggio, going, "What would it be brilliant if we did that?" Did a coffee cart coming out one of those Piaggios in London. This is before they all did it. And I remember I came back from Rome and suddenly I started seeing that happen and materialize. And I said to Ingrid, right, I'm fed up of this. I'm fed up of having an idea and not doing it. So I said, okay, we love coffee. I set it aside. Great. I saw a shop. It went up for sale. I said to the owner, I said, I'll take it. And he goes, what? Like, I haven't put it on the market. I said, I'll take it. I really want that shop. It was a gorgeous shop Ingrid and I had seen. And I came home and I said to Ingrid, I said, you know, we've been talking about doing this. She went, yeah. I said, we own a shop now. She went, what? And I said, this was from a conversation on the pavement. I said, we own a shop. We've got 2 months to get the money together. We're going to start up our own business. And she went, it was as simple as that. I didn't know what I was doing. We spent 2 months trying to get the loan of £40,000. It had no premium, and we didn't have a freaking clue about the business. And every bank dismissed us. Every bank turfed us, because no one wants a loan for hospitality business. And then, luckily enough, a youngster business manager gave us a loan, got us all sorted, and we moved in. We opened a shop. We had 1.3 million coming out the park. Not one of them came in to get a coffee. We suddenly realised that this weren't going to make money. So all of a sudden, Ingrid and I, who cook, not chefs, cook, we started creating food. And that's what became the pinnacle of this place. It's turned from a coffee shop into a restaurant, and into a cocktail bar. Suddenly I started bringing all the DJs in that I knew in the area, started playing for free every Friday and Saturday night. All these old DJs who used to play in Ibiza, they wanted nostalgia, they had a normal job, started coming in. And then I said, right, I'm going to do something for the creative industry. I'm going to create a comedy night. I'm going to create a monologue slam night. I'm going to bring all my contacts in to get them signed up. So I started bringing everyone from Mount View College to do a monologue slam night to try and get them an agent before they left college. Started bringing all open mic night, all the big singers in the area. And as I was doing this, I controlled the creative hub of it, while Ingrid controlled the food and everything else. So I was literally the art director of this. Same time, we had an art gallery on the wall that we changed the artwork every 2 months to bring artists in the area who didn't have the confidence to exhibit to start displaying. And before you knew it, I started doing the big art festival in Palmer's Green, which had over 55 artists displaying their work from the fence at the front all the way to the top of the hill. So I started doing art, I started doing music. I started getting all the artists into big galleries. I started getting singers signed up with management. So what I was doing in hindsight, I was actually reliving what I really wanted to do by giving out to people to make me feel that I was still part of the industry. And it was all for free. And I didn't give a shit about that. I felt like I was performing all the time because of it. And that gave me that creative spur to go into directing, which gave me the creative spur to be art director of the Enfield Council, start bringing commissioned artwork into the area and started leading that development. So for me, I think that's what drove me in all those horrible moments. I don't know about you, that you're bashing your head and saying, why am I not working? Why am I not doing what I really love doing? It got rid of that gap. Whereas when I started doing meetings and auditions, I was feeling great, as opposed to feeling down that we hadn't worked, that this had to be the job that we had to get. It didn't matter if I got the job or not. I felt creatively content. And that's what I think really helped drive my career as an actor as well.
It feels like you've gone full circle to find the meaning of life, which a lot of people say the meaning of life is about forgetting about oneself and giving to others, you know?
Yeah.
And when you start to supply opportunities for other people, you know, you become the opportunity.
Yeah, because you're networking, you're working with people in the industry somehow, and before you know it, you've got producers, creative directors, singers, actors. I mean, all the EastEnders lot and Coronation Street used to come in. You know, all the people from Benidorm, I used to have film producers come into mine. They still do. Boy George used to come in most of the time because he used to record down the road. What you find, you start creating an environment where everyone's starting to network and they're working because they're not relying on other people to get work. They're starting to find work in each other. And that's what my agenda was. And that's what created that.
If for dancers, did you put a minimum spend on them? You're right. You're coming in. You can't get your money out.
I make no freaking money from dancers or singers. Man, those nights I made no money. I used to rip my hair out. They never used to spend money. But yeah, I mean, I get to perform once a year at my gaff every Christmas, and I get to perform with 10 other people. We've got a 10-piece band. And I get to sing Prince memorabilia and funk and soul every Christmas, like it's my stage. And it's the best feeling in the world. So by 8 to 12 o'clock, my voice is gone and I'm feeling amazing. But that's me trying to relive my been on stage moment, and it's fucking amazing.
Bailey,
Yes.
let me ask you a question, because we're going to have to finish in a second. What's your you'd never met Aykut, you only know him from me sort of over these last couple of weeks, bigging him up, saying, hey, he'd be a great podcast guest. What do you think the overall arc people will take from this?
I think for me, what would sum you up, Aykut, is just complete authenticity. You're just completely real. And obviously from a professional sense, I'm getting that from the way that you went into that audition room and saw actually that casting director's just a person. I almost feel a lot of performers have a character of them being an actor that they carry their professional career with. For you, you're just yourself. But then that also translates to then your business life, where instead of just like climbing the ladder and leaving everyone on the rungs underneath, it's like you've built a community there instead. You're allowing everything to coexist, which I think just really summarizes how great a person you are. And that is obviously what's driven your career. It's just authentic. That is what I would say.
That's got to be worth a small little discount if we ever come to the Starfish, isn't it?
Brother, look, I got a bit of love for you both. Look.
Go on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 hearts, baby, right there.
Oh man. Well, listen, I've got a girlfriend now, so I'll have to bring her down, innit? And
you're a big lad now. Yeah, you got a little one and everything.
Yeah. No.
Well,
no. I've got a little one, but I've split from the mum. I
didn't know that. Sorry, man.
That's
Are
fine.
you living out of London now? Are you out of London?
I'm in Finsbury Park. I'm in Finsbury Park. So
what?
Yes.
Get your ass down my way. You got a wicked restaurant around called Ferran. You got a wicked Thai restaurant around your way.
Green Lanes is Turkey heaven. It's Turkey heaven.
I know. Mate, you got some wicked food down our way. Listen, if you ever bring the little one or a girlfriend and come for some amazing food. It's my menu, right?
Well, we, funny enough, because Bailey's at the moment, he's based in Bridlington in Yorkshire, fucking miles away. However, from during the start of April, when is it? Start of April.
The first couple of weeks of April. We've
got a load of promo stuff that we're doing. We're having a photo shoot, and we're doing we've got an audition coming up for something, and so we're going to be looking for some places to go and to wine and dine. So we'll have to definitely come down.
Yeah, so we'll drop.
You have to say, look. If you ever want to film at ours, I mean, a lot of companies film at ours all the time. So I give out a space for free. But if you ever want to film down our way, it might be a great opportunity for you to meet a lot of people and come down and film it in our place.
Yes.
In order to have a better in order to have some presence as well.
Yes,
that'd be amazing.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, mate, we can make it happen. That'd be amazing.
We can make it happen.
EU dares, Rodders. EU dares.
EU
dares, mate.
Oh my God! It's been so nice to like it. What it is you're one of these people that we're connected through different. I mean, we were at the wedding for Freya. You're one of these people who I would love to spend more time with. You are such a real person. This is the thing. We're in a period now where people get very affected and very sensitive and don't dare to say anything. So we've got a lot of people who aren't themselves, and the reason why me and Bailey sort of gravitated towards each other is because we're both very much to the point, very blunt. And a lot of people don't like that. However, I feel those who are like that are in the greatest position for where the world's going. The world's going where you're going to need to be strong. You're going to need to stand up for yourself and your family and your kids and whatever your beliefs are.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so it's interesting, and that's the kind of people, I suppose, that we want on the podcast. We don't want kind of, I don't know, weak. It's not weak people, but just we want strong, balanced, and people who really know who they are and where they're going. Whether that's from a spiritual path or just they're just I do a lot of spiritual work. Bailey is just he's just on it, just He is. He does do personal development, but he's to get to how he is at his age. It's taken me 46 in May. It's taken me all this time of going up and down and personal development. And,
but mate, what you got to remember is you're there now. A lot of people don't get there. The point is, I was not like the way I was years ago because I had to learn. I had to make mistakes. I had to go through a journey. We all go through a journey, whereas we have to be ready and open arm to accept a spiritual journey. Okay? There are a lot of people out there, especially after lockdown, and it amazes me today that people are still narrow-minded and still reading the paper. And they haven't opened up their mind and done their own research. So what you got to say to yourself is, at least you have made the effort to bring yourself there, and you're a better person for it. And people have to evolve around you, not the other way around now.
Yes. Well, there you go. Before, oh, go on, babe.
I was going to say, so one final question. We've got a signature that we ask every guest.
Yes,
which is, if, let's say, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, you've just announced your retirement from the industry, and Variety magazine are going to pick this up and do a column about it. How would you like them to write about you? How would you like to be remembered? What would you see in that article that you like? That sums me up how I would like to be summed up and remembered. How does that look for you?
Oh God, I hate these things. God.
Sorry.
Yeah. I guess for me it would be after my name, Sönmez, the one who doesn't give up. That's what it means in Turkish. I have nothing but love for everybody, and all I want is everyone to achieve the same. Simple as that.
Perfect summary, because that literally is exactly what we have seen today as well. So I'll throw it to you, Stuart, because I know you want to talk about the other episodes for people to go and watch. Go for it.
Yes. So before we do end, I just wanted to say, if you haven't seen the latest guest episodes or our past guest episodes, do check them out. We've recently had Daniel Hayden on, Charlie Bruce, Ricky Tajir, and others. So yeah, do check them out. Aykut, this has been, I shouldn't say this, but maybe I'll say this every time we have a guest. This has been my favourite guest one so far.
I love it. Come on, my son.
But because we know each other. We know each other.
Yeah.
We're from the same era. We're from the same
era. Yeah. Mate, I've got to say to you both, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I don't get to do stuff like this. So for me, it's been, it kind of takes me back. You brought a lot of nostalgia for me. It's also good to talk real. Do you know what I mean? None of that bollocks that's going on right now. So thanks. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
You guys the best, man.
You too, man. It's been a brilliant conversation. I've loved it. Your energy is just unmatched. So, people, before you leave us, hit subscribe on the channel. Give us a like on the video. If you've got a comment, drop us a comment. Tell us what you thought of this episode. And turn on your notification bell so you know all about next week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Aykut. See you soon. See everyone next week.
See you later, guys. Thanks, Aykut.